I got to play the demo of Remake SaGa 2 Revenge of the Seven, and I've got to be honest, I am pleasantly surprised with what I've played, and I'm pretty excited for the fall release. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about that experience, so I'm hoping that you can join me with that. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got you covered with timestamps in the description down below, so if there's a certain section you would like to skip to, feel free to do so. All I ask is for you to support the channel and hit the like button, and if you want to stick around for some more Square Enix content, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. Now before we go any further, I've got to shout out Square Enix for providing me with an early access of the demo for Remake SaGa 2 so I can get my thoughts, my opinions, and the footage you are seeing right now. Though none of that is going to affect with what I'm going to say today. Also, I should mention that I've always struggled to get into the SaGa games. They've never really clicked, and I actually think this might be the one. And obviously I've not played the original, so if there's something that I talk about here that was in the original, then please let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm going in with this with a fresh pair of eyes. So with that all out of the way, let's touch on the story and the characters, and this is quite broad, but we're going to concentrate on what we're getting in the demo here. We play as the ruler of the Venice Empire, Leon. He strives to unite the lands and bring peace amidst the growing fiendish threat, and he is one of our playable characters in this demo. We also get to play as his son, Gerard, and he is second in line to the throne. Now I won't go into any more detail because stuff happens in this story, and it got me pretty damn excited with what's to come, especially with its gameplay systems when it comes to the inheritance system, but also I was really surprised with the quality of voice acting here. It really added to the story. From story, let's talk about the gameplay, because there's a lot to go over here that we will be experiencing in this demo, and I'm going to start off with my favorite, which is exploration. During the demo, we get to traverse a handful of locations, and there's NPCs to speak to, there's little shinies all over the place to collect, and there's chests to open, whether that's crowns, which is the currency, or weapons that can help us in battle. There's also shops that we can visit, and when it comes to the full game, there are going to be a plethora of things to enhance when it comes to combat, weapons, and magic. I also got to traverse a couple of dungeons here, and it really made use of the jumping action that Remake SaGa 2 has here. I realized that I could jump around, and I was like, is this going to be used for something? And yes, there are actually hidden locations across a couple of the dungeons and towns you visit to find hidden chests, and there's also little nuts and crannies that you can crawl through as well. So if you're one of those players that like to venture off the beaten path, then there is something here for you, and that's the kind of player I am, so I had a pretty good time with that. Okay, right, combat. Combat is usually the thing that turns me off SaGa games, because I just can't click with them. But this was really simple, easy to understand, and introduced it in steps in a way where I was able to just take it in and make it my own. The way that battles work is turn-based. You have the turn order on the top left of the screen, and then when your character's turn comes up, you can act immediately. Though if one of your characters dies, their life points are reduced, and then if they lose those life points, you lose that character permanently. With me being pretty good at these games, it didn't happen, but it was there, and I'm very interested to see how that mechanic works. Now there's many ways to tackle battles. We have 8 different weapon types to wield. We have swords, great swords, short swords, spears, axe, clubs, or just using the power of martial arts. And then we have a plethora of spells that we can choose from that are under magical disciplines. So we have pyrology, hydrology, aerology, terrology, cosmology, and umbrology, which all comes with its bells and whistles. One thing I really like is that each enemy has weaknesses, and when you've exposed that weakness, you then know what to attack with, and it stays on the enemy. So it reminds me of like Octopath Traveler, and I like that. And then when you go into your bestiary, you can have a look at the enemies you fought and what they're weak against, so you can prepare for the next battle against that enemy. Another system that's introduced here is the Glimmer system. So essentially you use your basic attacks. Let's say you've equipped a club and you've got a short sword. That may have a light bulb next to the name, and what that means is that if you use it under pressure or against stronger enemies, there is a chance, even against normal enemies as well, that you will learn a new ability. This can be really frequent or it can be very few and far between, but it gets you to experiment with the weapons you've got, and obviously it depends what character class you are as well, and if you can learn certain abilities, and then when you learn another ability, you can learn another ability using that, and so on. It really gets you to try and experiment with all what the combat has to offer, and there are so many combinations here. I just had a pretty good time experimenting with what it had to offer. Not only can the Glimmer system teach you a plethora of attacks, you can also learn evasion as well. So for instance, you may evade something and you may learn how to parry or something along the lines of that. So again, battles are very in-depth, but very basic to approach, and I just can't wait to dive in to see what more it has to offer. Last but not least, the one thing I want to talk about is united attacks. So essentially, you fill up an overdrive bar once it is full. The characters whose turn it is and the characters whose turn is coming up can team up to use a united attack on whatever they may have a speciality in. So for example, I was playing with Leon and Gerard. So what would happen is I would use Leon's sword and Gerard learn fire ability, so they combine those attacks for united attacks. But it does not stop at 2 characters. As the game goes on, you can have more characters into the mix and really unleash some potent attacks. So all in all, combat's pretty expansive but very approachable, and that's what I liked about it. This has actually sold me on this SaGa game, and I'm really excited to dive into more because I've played past SaGa games and I think it just might be a me issue, but I've always struggled to understand the turn order and the way that attacks works. But again, this one here just really hit the nail on the head for me, and I just clicked and I've not looked back. Sticking on the subject of combat here, I just want to touch on the menus. Now there's a formation menu, and I think this is really unique. So one I had during the demo was called the Imperial Cross, which essentially had the Emperor in the middle and all the other party members surrounding the Emperor, so the Emperor didn't die because of course of this inheritance system that was introduced, and we don't want to lose the Emperor because then the next in line we will have to play as. That could be a plus or a minus, but anyway, I'm getting on a bit and a little bit excited. But the formations here, the Imperial Cross, the Emperor in the middle is harder to target by enemies. The one at the front is easier to target, but if you use a tank-based character, you can throw them in there because they also get status benefits as well. For example, this one gets physical defense and magic defense, which is going to help you out. So there's a lot to experiment with when it comes to formations, a lot of benefits, a lot of things that could probably hinder your experience as well. But again, throwing so many things into the mix at a good pace is really good to experiment with. And then you have the basic equipping your characters. Most characters can equip anything, but certain classes will benefit from certain weapons, and when they have their weapons equipped, you can use the Glimmer system to learn more abilities. You can also equip accessories that can make you immune from certain status elements and everything else in between. There is also, just linked to the weapons while we're on the subject here, the Imperial standing. So the more times you use the weapons, the more experience you get. It's much like Final Fantasy II. We all know the story. That leveling statistics system from 2 got carried on into the SaGa series, and I think it's its best here. I don't know if it was like that in the original, but here it was really good and made me want to use fire spells, cure spells, and every weapon I had under the sun here. But this also goes towards this Imperial standing. So essentially it calculates and gives you revenue of crowns you'll get per encounter, and there's just, again, just another layer in the systems where you can really experiment or try and get the best result that you can. There are so many other things in the menu system here. We have the Imperial Chronicles, where we get to have a look at the story and look at the objectives of what we need to do. We have the mini maps that we can have a look at. We have a big map that we can look at. We have the world map we can look at. There is so much crammed in here, and I'm, again, pleasantly surprised. And I think this is going to be a SaGa game that a lot of people are going to get into. But before we finish off, I want to talk about the music. I really enjoyed the soundtrack here. I had the reorchestrated soundtrack, of which you can hear in the background of this video, and it's pretty kick-ass, especially the battle theme. But if you are a fan of the classic themes, then you can switch back with no problems at all. And I believe somewhere in the game there is an orchestrion for you to play either the modern or classic music, whatever track you like at whatever time you would like. So all in all, Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven is looking very promising, and I'm very excited for more. I've just touched on this, and I do think This is the SaGa game that I'm going to get into, and I think that might be the same for a lot of you as well. Please let me know if you've played the original Romance in SaGa in the comment section below, or if you're just a fan in SaGa in general. Let us know what to be excited for here, but I can tell you with my experience with this demo, I am sold. So please come back here once you've played the demo and let me know your thoughts. I appreciate you watching, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.